You did
Is
it.
this my mic?
It is your mic. Is it my
Okay.
mic?
Yes.
Do you want to? Okay. Do you want to get started?
Yes, please. Hello, welcome to Make Me, the podcast where we force each other to do things we couldn't be bothered to do ourselves. I'm Julia.
And I'm Paul Bunyan.
Wow, we have a celebrity in the midst today.
In my midst.
In your midst. I don't know how to say that. Midst? In our midst?
I didn't mean to make fun of you.
Where's your blue ox?
He's shrunk.
I thought you were saying
shrunk.
He died.
I was gonna say he died, but I was like, that seems kind of morbid. This is supposed to be a lighthearted podcast.
Squid can be the blue ox. Oh my god, he should be the blue ox for Halloween.
Oh my gosh.
And you could be Paul Bunyan.
I'll be Paul Bunyan. Okay, we're deleting this. Okay. No one take this idea.
I do have some beef that I want to air. It's not with you. It's with oats.
Okay, good, because I'm a vegetarian. And I'm not fucking scared of you.
So, as we all know, the first Make Me episode, I had to make oat milk. Well, non-dairy milk. Which, as we learned, is just blended up oats with water.
Yeah. I
was at the grocery store. Wait, so we buy Oatly sometimes, and we were at the grocery store and we're like, wait, what's this blue container of Oatly? Because we usually buy the white one because it's the only one we've ever seen. And we found out that the blue one is regular and the white one is low fat.
Oh no.
And I stood in front of it for so long, like, there's no fat in oats. Like, how can you be low fat?
It's like a label.
I'm like mad that they're trying to make me think that oats have fat in them.
Right.
And it also makes it seem like this one oat milk will make you fat and this one won't.
Yeah.
But it's just fucking oats and water. It's all the same shit.
Right. Like, how do you take the fat out of, like, oats? That doesn't... Like...
Yeah. Like, they don't... Can you even make, like, oat oil? There's, like, nothing in them.
That'd be like having, like, a snack food that doesn't have gluten in it, and then that never had gluten in it, and then calling it gluten-free so that people buy it.
But then they have like two different bottles. They're the exact same price.
Weird.
Also, I think what they did, because the non-fat one is like really thin and weird.
Uh-huh.
And the other one is like regular and creamy. So I think they just like put more water in it.
Right.
It's bullshit.
Or maybe they're adding something to the regular one that they're not adding to, like, the other one.
Yeah, maybe they're adding, like, heavy cream to it.
Just milk.
Yeah.
Well, I'm with you on the beef. But speaking of oat milk, and also speaking of Make Me, and also speaking of beef. I got the Rishi matcha.
Oh yeah, how was it?
It's delicious. I feel like I make like chocolate milk in the morning, where I just like I just like make a matcha latte, like iced matcha latte, where I just like take the oat milk and, you know, put the tablespoon of the matcha in it. It's good.
Yes, it's so good.
I'm jazzed with it.
You gotta make a warm one.
I do need to make a warm one, and I think that I stand by the fact that, like, when you buy something, it just tastes better, which, like, isn't true. But, like, the whole, like, what I've learned from capitalism is I like when I get to walk out with, like, the little cup with the label and the ice and all that kind of stuff.
Because you're like, I did something important today. I got the cup.
I was also seen by somebody.
Yes. Well, that's, like, the biggest thing we're missing in quarantine is being seen by other people.
I was on a walk with a friend, and I was like, I miss just, like, she's like, what are you, like, missing from, like, you know, quarantine? Because, like, we had very different, like, not nightlife, but, like, social lives. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know, I miss going out to restaurants. I didn't realize how much, like, how reliant I was on restaurants for, like, my like social life. But I was
Yeah.
like, I miss being seen in a coffee shop. Like I miss purposely like dressing cute so I can go sit at a coffee shop and like be seen by the passerbys.
Yes, and like make eye contact with people. Be like,
Yeah.
you saw me, you recognize my existence today.
Yeah. Also, like, let's both sit on our MacBooks and like do work
And not talk.
and not talk to each other. And it's always like some guy like in the corner like sketching something in a book.
Yes, I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about eating alone, and they were like, "Yeah, I just like like to walk into a bar and or like a restaurant and sit at the bar and eat by myself." And I was listening to it and I was like, "Oh, I should do that. Like that'd be so fun. Let's go do that today because I'm home alone." And then I like completely forgot the pandemic was happening and that I can't just like go to a bar and sit there.
I know. It's such a bummer because like the thing I think I miss the most is like casual drinks on a weekday.
Yes.
Like when you know you can't go get drunk, so nothing bad
Yes.
can happen, but you put on something cute and then you get to go talk to the bartender and like have
Yes.
like a nice rapport. Yeah.
Life's hard. And then it's getting cold, so it's going to be worse.
Yeah. Anyway, on that very lovely high note,
At least we have Make Me.
we do have Make Me. Everyone else has Make Me too.
That's right. You want to you're up first this week.
Yeah, let's get started. Okay, so this Make Me, Julia, was you wanted me to adopt one of my parents' hobbies.
Yes.
And specifically you said I couldn't just try it. I had to make it one of my hobbies. Um
Yeah, I feel like
bef-
that was a high bar.
Before we get into what I did this week, I'm curious like what your parents' hobbies are because
Yes.
Margot and Rick are very interesting people to me.
Yes.
And I would love to hear all about their hobbies.
Sure. My dad, Rick, his hobbies include exercising, and also he likes to be outdoors, so he'll like bike ride, he'll go on hikes, he'll like go to the beach and stuff. He also likes playing pickleball with his friends. They have like a couple that they hang out with and play pickleball with. So
Uh-huh.
much so that they bought like a pickleball net for the pandemic so that they can still play. And they're like, well, you never have to touch any, like you're never close to anyone because you and your wife are on one side and the other husband and wife are over there.
Yeah.
And also he's done a lot of like printmaking and art like his whole life, and his career started in the print industry, printing.
Mhm.
But recently he's found a software where he can make a 3D design and then he can go get it shipped. He can get it made into a 3D print, like a
Mhm.
like a 3D, yeah, it's called a 3D print. So I have a piece of art that's like a design that he made, geometric design. It's pretty big, and it's like 4 different 3D prints like that fit together that he had to glue together and mat and frame.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
So he's really into that kind of stuff. And Margot, she has a lot of interesting hobbies.
Well, we
She,
know origami's one of them.
yes, I was gonna say she's been doing a lot of origami. Um, she also makes soap, and so
What?
she'll buy like the glycerin soap base, and then she'll like add essential oils and like herbs and color, and she has all these fun molds, and she makes shampoo bars and lotion bars, and that's like her biggest hobby.
Uh-huh.
And then also, which is really fun, and I try to do it with her when I'm there, and it's fun, but it's like a lot of cleanup, and she likes to do it, so I like being the recipient of the soap bars instead of making them myself.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, she does a lot of crossword puzzles, and when I'm visiting her, she'll like every night she'll sit on the couch and do a crossword puzzle, and like the cat will come sit on her lap. And then Clay, my brother, and I will sit around and like kind of do the crossword puzzle with her. So first we'll
Uh-huh.
just like I'll be like peering over her on the couch. And then
Yeah.
other times she'll be like, okay, I have like 3 left and I can't get them. Like, go, you guys go. And then we
I love
finish
that.
it.
That's so good.
Classic parent hobbies, I feel like.
I love that. Okay. So I feel like this is the first Make Me that I was seriously considering texting you and being like, can we change it?
Wow.
Only because I realized that my parents don't have hobbies.
I was worried about that.
I also realized that we never talk about my parents
No.
because they're boring. So a little background about my parents. They never were married to each other.
Okay.
And they had me and as like in a relationship, and then they like separated or broke up or whatever. And now they're like married to other people and they have kids from other marriages and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So um and they both just like are kind of like depressed people. They're not going to
Oh
listen
my
to this, so
God.
like I'm okay with saying this. This is going to be like a fun but serious episode because we're going to talk
Yes.
about some serious things.
Yes.
But before I deflect this Make Me, I'm going to tell you what my parents' hobbies are.
Sure.
So my mom has two hobbies, and one of them is to watch true crime television and the other one is to
Ooh.
watch HGTV.
Ooh.
Now, I was
These
very
feel
close. What?
these feel adjacent to your hobbies.
Very, yes, very close. Um I was very tempted to do like a true crime podcast episode, which we already did that. And then I was
Yeah.
also considering doing like a room design HGTV kind of special, but I feel like I kind of did that with like the color boards, and I kind
Yes.
of would want to do that a different time when it's not my
Yes.
parents' hobbies. So those are about the two things. Or then it's like smoking cigarettes in her bed at like 7
Ooh,
p.m.
that's fun.
So that's Dee Dee, that's my mom. And then my
Dee Dee, what a
dad,
cool name.
it's not her real name. I'm not allowed illegally to say what her full name is. I'll tell you off
It's
air.
like Slagathor.
Yeah. Mordor. My dad, my whole life has just like traveled from hobby to hobby, and he loves to like get the initial like pay in, you know what I mean? And then like get
Yes.
all the things he needs to get for it, and then never like he would do it a little bit and then never follow through with like continuing it. So like
Yes.
there's like dust covered like hobbies all like sprinkled all around like the house and the garage.
This is very dad to me. I feel
Yeah.
like many people's dads do this.
And one of the biggest indicators of like what my dad's hobby was at the time is whatever like magazine was in the bathroom.
Okay, yes.
Because my dad would like get subscriptions to very like niche hobbies. So it's like always like it was more like a zine than it was like a magazine. So it was like clearly
Right.
like that very like matte, like kind of like rough paper. You know what I mean? Like it was
Yep.
like almost like you remember highlights magazines and what those were made
Yes.
out of? It was kind of like
Yes.
that paper.
It's kind of like newspaper that they like put nail polish on.
Yeah, exactly. One hobby that lasted like our entire life, and this isn't like a brand new hobby or anything, but like guns. My dad like likes to think he likes guns. He goes hunting and he has all these guns, but like he never really talks about it. It's like definitely just like a
Yeah.
him thing, but he always had like a gun magazine
Oh,
in
wow.
the bathroom.
I kind of
For
respect that he doesn't talk about it a lot. Like it's just for
Yeah,
him.
my dad's a really secretive guy because like you would think that he would talk to his son about those kind of things.
Yeah.
I'm happy that I didn't have to deal with all that, but like you know what I mean? Like I feel like that's how like those hobbies like get passed down. Like somebody doesn't
Yes.
just start liking guns out of nowhere. Like it's usually something that's like inherited or like not
Yes.
inherit, like you know what I mean? Like picked up on.
Right.
Um a-
Interesting.
Another hobby for a while, I okay, this is the one that I wish got followed through with, but my dad was really into mushrooms, like growing mushrooms.
Ooh.
And I remember reading those and being like, "Oh, I would love to do that. I want to do that one."
Yeah, that sounds cool. And you get to like
Yeah,
the spore packets and all the
exactly. One that he did follow through with, but only for like a year, was stained glass, and I actually
Whoa.
got to participate that one a little bit.
How was that? That sounds fun.
It's fun. I really like it. It's like pretty. It's from when I was only like 12 when when it was going on, but it's like pretty meditative.
How do you actually stain the glass? I don't think that's a dumb
No,
question.
you buy the colored glass and then you cut it into shapes and then you would like line it with like
Oh,
metal, like a
like
copper
a
like film on the edges,
oh, okay.
and then you like line it again with like I don't know what metal it was. I want to say lead, but that doesn't seem right
Probably
because like
not.
that seems dangerous. But then you would solder all like the corners and edges and stuff together so that it
Right.
was like
Oh,
a thing.
cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
But then he like didn't do that. I think that my dad like thought he was going to be like an artist and like sell a bunch of stuff, and then like when he didn't
Yeah.
like make $1,000 in like the first 6 months of doing it, he like stopped doing it, which like
Yeah.
hashtag relatable, hashtag girl
Yes.
boss.
Yes.
Another one that he was gonna do for a while was build guitars, and I think he went as far as to like purchase like the patterns that you would need to cut the wood out in to like make the guitar.
Yeah.
Because there was like specifically a guitar building magazine
Oh
in like
my
it wasn't just like
God.
purchasing guitars or playing guitar. My father knew how to play one song on the guitar, so I don't know why he thought he was gonna build guitars.
He has high goals.
Another hobby, this is more of a family hobby that just like didn't work out, was rock tumbling. We were gonna like make smooth rocks, but like I think that after like, so when you do rock tumbling, it takes a long time, and you have like
Yeah.
the first one you have to like you put your rocks in a barrel, like a little tiny
Yeah.
barrel, and like put the powder in it. But then every time you do it, you put like increasingly more rough powder so that it smooths the rocks out more. And after the first time we did it, my dad was like, it didn't seem really worth it, so we're not going to do it again. And it was like after the first step, like it wasn't even supposed to be smooth at that point, but my dad was like,
Right.
no, this is not worth it. And we're like, okay, I guess we're not going to do it.
Oh my God.
Another one that my dad thought he was going to do for a while was frog gigging, which is
What?
fishing for frogs by like stabbing, like you hunt frogs by like
Holy
stabbing with
shit.
like a spear.
I thought you just like didn't know how to say frog gigging.
And then the last one I can remember, I'm sure there's a bunch of other ones, was he raised rabbits for food, which luckily
Cool.
I was in college by that point. It was not cool. Like these poor rabbits.
How
He
many did he
dove.
have?
It was a lot. Like at one point we had like 20 cages of rabbits, and he
Oh
thought he was gonna
God.
breed them, and it was like you went all in like immediately.
Couldn't be bothered to do 2 rounds of rock tumbling, but bought 30 rabbits.
But and then also like built all the cages himself.
That's
Like he
crazy.
put so much time into it just to abandon it later because it ended up being too much work. And I was like, what did
Oh
you
my
think was gonna
God.
happen? You thought you were gonna build these cages and then the rabbits were gonna like breed and then murder themselves for you to eat in soup?
Eat in soup only. Also, like, taking on the care of any living thing is hard.
But also that, and then also being a butcher, like, yes, it's going to
Right.
be a lot of work, John, for you
Oh
to
my
like
God.
raise these rabbits for food. Like this is something that people's lives are like raising
Right.
animals. Like it's called a farm.
Right. Honestly, though, I respect the ambition of all these hobbies. It's not like little hobby, like origami, you pick up a piece of paper and you start doing it. There's
Yeah.
no investment.
Exactly. So as you can see, the list of hobbies that I have are very either really high
Yeah.
buy-in or like just seem very uninteresting to me.
Yeah.
And also like just the idea of like have never sticking to any of them except for hunting, which I have like literally zero interest in. I'm not
Yeah.
like exactly against hunting either because I also am not a vegetarian, and like I benefit from when my dad goes hunting because then I
Yeah.
get the meat and I really like venison. But also like the thing I'm most not interested in is waking up at 5 a.m. and then being cold and like
Yes.
sitting there and then not, and then like that the promise of me not having like knowing I'm going to get like a deer or like a
Right.
turkey or something, you
You
know what
could
I
sit
mean?
there all day and have no payoff.
So like I literally have zero interest, and how old am I? I'm 26 years old, and every single year my dad kind of just like, are you gonna go hunting with me this year? And I'm like, literally never asked me that.
Well, I gave you a tough
So
task, I guess. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay because I thought about it, and I really did contemplate being like, hey Julia, like I might low-key just not do this one, and if you could just like secretly give me another one and then we'll just like pretend it never happened,
Yeah.
because who knows if anyone even makes it to the end of the podcast to hear the new Make Me anyway.
Right. Right.
But I decided that for this week I'm going to talk about a hobby that I think that I think that my parents should have.
Oh, I love this. The old switcheroo.
The old switcheroo, the classic Jordan deflecting and not fully doing the make me.
And switcherooing.
Check. Yeah, and switcherooing. So my personal hobbies include, well, doing this podcast, I think, is probably my biggest hobby now,
Yes.
which
The most
is
time intensive.
great. Exactly. And I don't think that my parents should have a podcast. I don't think that
Ooh.
they really have anything that interesting to say.
Your mom
The
could talk
other
about
hobby
smoking cigarettes in bed, though. That'd be
like,
perfect.
that's true. Today I had a full pack of Marlboro Reds.
Tomorrow I plan on having another pack.
I watched I watched Snapped again. I've already seen this episode. The wife did it.
And you can like hear her taking drags of a cigarette in between sentences.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, maybe I should have my parents make podcasts.
Your dad can have a failed hobby podcast.
That's true. That's basically what Make Me is a failed hobby podcast. Yikes.
Shit.
I've made a matcha latte. I've done origami. And then another one of my hobbies, I think I started doing makeup, and I think I do that pretty regularly.
Oh yeah.
And that's fun. It's mostly just putting makeup on my face and wiping it off. But like eventually I want to get good at it. Yeah, it's a hobby.
You gotta practice a bunch for it to be something you can do in public.
Yeah. And then I consider this a hobby. I go to therapy every week.
That is a good hobby.
And this is the hobby that I've chosen that I think that my parents should adopt. I think that everyone should adopt this hobby is to go to therapy.
Yes.
And I'm here to explain to you why.
I'm very excited because recently I've been trying to find a new therapist, and then I get lazy and then I don't contact them.
Yeah, it's hard.
I need a kick in the ass.
Yeah. Do you have any experience with therapy?
Yes. I went to therapy when I was really young. When my parents got divorced, they had me go to therapy. Mm-hmm. And just for like a little bit. And then 2.5 years ago, I started going to therapy on my own volition to get help with an eating disorder. And it was the best experience of my life. And I'm so glad I did it. Mm-hmm. And I still use things that she told me. Like, I haven't gone for 1.5 years now, but I still think about all the shit she told me all the time.
Yeah. Why did you stop going?
Because she stopped being part of any healthcare network. And so
it's so annoying.
It was like added. So I was already very anxious and stressed. And then after every session, I had to submit my receipt to insurance, and then they would give me some money back. But yeah, it was just like an added step. And I was like, I'm feeling better. Like, I'm feeling under control. And she was like, I've given you a lot of tools, so let's see how you do on your own. And if you ever want to come back, you obviously can. Yeah. And I was already going like once a month at that point. So yeah. But she went out of network, and I was like, well, can't do this shit anymore.
That's so weird. I can't imagine why like a therapist would leave a network. Like, you know what I mean? Like, wouldn't they get more clients if like they're attached to a network?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea how that works.
Or maybe they can charge like private like people more because like people who are looking for that. I don't know. It's weird because then you think that people who have more money have the better healthcare insurance, so they would go through their insurance to do it. That's weird. Yes. I started therapy when I was in college. I got one of those good old free counselors, which were great. I really liked my therapist. His name was Craig, but sometimes he like would make me like feel bad about my coping mechanisms.
Oh my God.
And then would also like so when you're like 19, 20 and you're in college, like you drink every weekend and like you smoke weed on the weekends. You know what I mean? Like you do that stuff. So, but at one point he was like, I'm worried about your substance intake. Like, I want you to like make a journal chart about your substance intake. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that because like that would be dumb. And then another thing I didn't like he did, he one time gave me an article about borderline personality disorder and was like, whoa. Anybody who's like in this age range just like exhibits symptoms of borderline personality disorder. I'm not saying that you have it, but I think you should read this article about like some of like the emotion. It's like the emotion regulation stuff about it. And I was like, I'm 19 and you're telling me I was like, you're telling me I have borderline personality disorder.
No, that is what he's saying.
Yeah, exactly. So other than that, he was really good and he helped me with a lot of my self-esteem stuff when I was in college.
Just like no tact though at all. Just being like, I feel like instead of saying I'm worried about your intake, you should be like, are you worried about it? Because like, do you think it's abnormal or is this what everyone else is doing? And blah blah blah.
Right, exactly. I
And
feel
then
like I'm breaking my own like thing where I'm talking about all my problems I had in therapy and now, but whatever. You know how like doctors can't tell other people like what was happening in therapy?
yes,
It's
well,
my
it's
story.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not your doctor.
Yeah, I'm not my doctor. Maybe I should preface why I go to therapy is that sometimes I have like trouble with like mood regulation and I get
Yeah,
like really high highs and really low lows, but
yeah,
like never to the point where like it's ever been diagnosed of like with anything. It's just more
yeah,
like when I'm low, I don't know how to get better. And it's like it's
yeah.
such a short period of time, but it just feels so low that like it hurts my feelings. Like I hurt my own
Yes,
feelings all the time.
I know
And
what
then when I
that's
like
like.
and then when I bounce back, I feel like I was something I've been dealing with lately is like when I bounce back, I'm like, I feel like I'm above baseline. And then
Yeah.
like when I'm like out and I think I'm being normal, everyone's like, okay, what's happening? Like, are you good? But really, like I think I'm being normal because it feels normal from being so low. And I when I like
Right,
in like juxtaposition to being so low, and I think I feel normal, it's like actually just like way up here.
right.
You know what I mean?
I totally know what
Um,
you mean.
but one thing I was grappling with like 2 years ago was like when I feel that way, I got really hard on myself about like thinking about it so much. And I always
Yeah,
then like I would try to overcorrect or like if I was feeling like really low, I would like blame myself for it and then like get even like worse on myself and like call myself
yeah,
like a broken person and be like, I'm depressed and I'm broken, I don't know how to be a person and all this kind of stuff.
yes,
So one very important thing I got from that therapist in Cleveland was that like all of your emotions are valid. And I had to like
yes,
work really hard to like feel that way.
yes. I worked on that with my old therapist, Laura, because I know you and I are very much like, we'll say something and then we'll try to justify it. So we're like, so like she said this thing to me and it really pissed me off, but like I know I shouldn't be mad. Like she didn't mean it that way. And Laura would cut me off and be like, no, you should be fucking pissed. Like that's annoying.
Yeah, for sure.
Just like feel your emotions.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole time for that one, I was always like, I feel like I love when I go to therapy and they use analogies, and I love taking like physical manifestations of like your emotions or like your thoughts and trying to look at them that way because it makes things make more sense because like for me emotions are so abstract to like give it a physical presence that is like more easy to understand is better.
Yeah.
And the way that we kind of thought it out was that I am she wanted to use a box metaphor where like every piece of me is in a box, but I decided that I was a megazord and all of the pieces of me, all the different all the like the Zords from Power Rangers, and
Yes.
that some, and I was like, and some of them are broken, and she goes, okay, and then like, how does that make you feel? I was like, well, I want to fix those things, and she goes, what if I told you those are things that like aren't things that need to be fixed and can like function without being fixed? And I was like,
Right.
I hate you for saying that. But then I eventually came around to realize that I'm not a broken person and that even though I have like these sometimes hard to regulate emotions, every emotion I have is like valid because like going back to the simulation theory, the truth is how I perceive it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. Plus, like, it's tough if there's something that you just can't fix, quote unquote, fix about yourself. It's not like, okay, so with my back, I broke my one vertebrae and it's just like been that way for so long now that when I go to the doctor, they're like, this isn't no longer were we thinking about this as broken. We're like, this is just your anatomy now. And
Yeah.
how can you work with that versus like this is something that you have to like go get something done to.
Yeah. I feel that. That's exactly it. And like
So
changing the stigma around like having to have like a very neurotypical idea of like your emotions and like
yes,
emotional like track.
yes,
Because also sometimes people are freaking sad sometimes, and people are
yeah,
like really excited sometimes, and people
all the
sometimes
time.
have expectations.
Yes,
And then now recently I have a new therapist that I've been seeing. And this has been like the most positive like therapy like experience I've ever had. Because
that's
sometimes I
awesome.
feel like my second therapist like always like agreed with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And was always like, no, like you're doing the right thing. Or, like, what do you want to do? That's the right thing. Which I know like that's their job and I know it's what they do, but sometimes I wish that like there was some pushback or like some
yeah,
kind of like question is more like, no, you're doing the right thing, which I think at the time I needed. And I think that some people do need that, because
Yeah.
especially at the time I was like questioning everything, and to have the confidence to feel good about like making a decision based on like my perception of things, rather than like having the idea that I'm so emotionally irregular, or that like whatever reaction I'm having is probably wrong. So
Yeah.
I have to like rely on everyone else's perception of the situation for them to help me make the decision.
Right.
When really I have the power to make decisions based on like how I'm feeling, and that
Right.
is also the truth, even if it
Yes.
doesn't super align with like everyone else's like perception.
Yes. That makes
So
sense.
that's been really good. And then
That's
my
great.
my new therapist, we've been talking a lot about like mm, everything really. She's really, it's the reason I love her so much is because I've talked about so many things, and we've been able to like put like a big bow around like everything, and like and relating everything to each other, and like gives me such a bigger perspective about like my life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she helps me see my life from like above,
Right.
if that makes sense. Like my life is a map, and she helps me see it from
Yeah,
above.
that makes sense to me.
Yeah. And so like with this like whole emotion regulation, sometimes I feel an emotion, I don't understand what it is, and I get really
Yeah.
hot and I don't know how to express that to somebody. And I was like, it just feels like my brain's on fire sometimes. And she
Yes.
helped me think about it in a way that like my emotions get constipated. Like
Yeah.
think of
That's a
like
good way to
your
put it.
yeah, like think of your emotions as like a digestive system, and like you have an intake of something, and then you're trying to
Process it.
digest it and process it, and it just gets blocked.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of just like what happens, and kind of like, examining like, okay, what was I doing at the time, or like what was the event that made me feel this way.
Yes.
And like if I'm holding on to like, if it's like anger that's being processed, and I'm not like, if I'm blocked because I refuse to let go of anger or like disappointment, like what am I gaining from like holding on to the anger, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Not much, probably.
Nothing, literally nothing. I love to hold, like I love holding a grudge, and I love being resentful. Like I'm not like happy about it. I'm not saying like this is something I love about myself, that I'm like a petty bitch who holds on to everything. But it's way easier for me personally to hold on to something, and
Yes.
I'm realizing that like I'm the person doing that.
Yes. That's usually what it is. Like you can't change other people.
Yeah. I also, though, another thing I really really love about therapy is that if you look hard enough and you like set up the expectations with like your therapist, um like you can get exactly what you need out of therapy, you know what
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
as long
all
as like
based
you're
on you.
honest. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's why I get really frustrated when people are like, "Oh, I don't like therapy. It didn't work for me." And they did it like one time. Or
Yeah,
even if they did it for an extended period of time, but their mindset the whole time was like therapy's bullshit. Because you kind of need to just like give yourself over to it and hope for the best. And you're doing all
yeah,
the work. You can't just expect to sit there with someone and be like, here's all my problems. And then they tell you like what you should be doing, or they like ask you questions and you're not introspective at all. And you're not like trying to help yourself. If you're just like, I'm only doing this because someone told me I had to, then you're not going to get anything out of it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, go to therapy and talk to them, and like
Plus,
tell
it's a
them how
third
you're feeling.
party.
It's
They're
a
not
third
related
party.
to you.
And I know that like me personally, I'll think of things from like my childhood that like make me icky and feel weird, and I don't like to talk about it, but like sometimes you have to talk about it, because then you can process it and like not feel icky and weird about it, you
Yeah.
know?
And then you're not like rolling around in your brain like a rock tumbler all the time. You're just like, you let it go.
Exactly, exactly. And like it doesn't have to be one of your like little tiny traumas that like hold you back, because like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, because another thing that I've been dealing with is like, especially in quarantine, I get really bored, but like it's a painful boredom where like I feel very uncomfortable, and I feel like I have to fill that time with something, and I
Yeah.
feel bad about like being by myself. It's a bad feeling to be by myself and not do something. So like I'm
Yeah.
always trying to like make everyone around me like do something, and everyone's kind of like, okay, like let's all chill out for a second. Like no one's really up to do that. And I'm like, but I need
Right.
to do it, because I'm like, if I don't, I get depressed. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like they
I know
don't
what
know
you mean.
that. Like they don't know that I'm like really trying to hype everyone up, because like if I like in that base level, like I'm like upset. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Um
So, do you think your parents have ever gone to therapy?
I know that my dad for sure has never been to therapy. My mom goes to therapy, has gone to therapy, but doesn't like to talk at therapy because she doesn't think that they help. Like you were saying, like you
Right.
think like people think they're gonna go and that the therapist is gonna like tell them everything they're supposed to do and that their life's gonna be fixed magically. My mom doesn't want to
Right.
go and talk.
It's like they think that they're gonna go in and it's a fortune teller. They don't have to say anything. They can diagnose their problems and then like wave a magical wand and they're fixed.
Yeah.
When
And
actually it's really fucking hard.
it is hard and it's a lot of work to do it. And I last week I had a week where I was like, I was telling my therapist, I was like, I don't want to do the work this week, and I'm gonna sit here and complain, and I'm gonna make excuses for everything that you tell me I'm supposed to do right now. And she
Yes.
goes, that's fine. And we could talk about that. We could talk about like where this is coming from. And I was kind of like, okay, I that's not what I was expecting. I thought you were gonna like whip me into shape, but if we want to sit here and let me make excuses, then I'm here for it. You
Right.
know?
Well, plus sometimes you're acting out because you want to act out, and then when someone lets you do it, you're like, well, this isn't fun anymore, so I'm actually going to
Right.
do the work.
Exactly. And another thing that we were talking about is like relating back to like my mom going and not talking, or like even my dad never going to therapy. Like we're lucky enough, like our generation is lucky enough to grow up where like going to therapy was starting to get normal when we were younger
Yeah.
anyway. But like thinking about like how they grew up when they were in their 20s, like you don't do that. Like you don't go to
Yeah.
therapy.
My parents, so I think my mom has definitely gone to therapy in the past, but she also is in NA and AA, which is like a big old group therapy session all the time. and
Mhm.
and you're like constantly talking to other people and like people are giving you guidance. I guess it's more like counseling, like peer counseling.
Yeah.
But she's also done therapy because of a bunch of different reasons, including addiction.
Yeah.
And then my dad goes to therapy and has for a long time. He goes like every so often, like a few times a year, but he doesn't call it therapy. He's like, it's just like I go and talk to Marilyn. And I'm like, okay, like who's that? And she's like, we just like talk and she like helps me and like listens to my problems and stuff, but he's never once called it therapy.
She has a doctorate in brain.
She's a brain doctor, but like not a surgeon.
But not like a surgeon, but like she can talk to you about like your problems, and then she'll talk like, and then you feel gooder
Yeah.
after.
Gooder. But I mean, whatever. As long as he's going, I think that's cool. And he doesn't have to call it therapy if he doesn't want to.
Hmm. But good for him.
But
Good for him to like, especially like like our men in our parents' generation have like a really hard time with like talking about their emotions,
yes.
or even just like
And
their
I think
thoughts.
that
Like it's not even
sucks.
just about your emotions, but like problems or like feeling upset about
Right.
something or like,
Like confrontation at all.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I think it's just like has a weird stigma that like you were saying, luckily we don't have or fewer people in our generation have because it's more available to us and even like the culture we're consuming people talk about therapy all the time and it's not
Yeah.
like a bad thing.
Yeah.
Um so I can see how it's hard for like people in our parents' generations to go and I think that's why it's like I'm cool with them not calling it therapy if they don't want to like whatever
Yeah,
makes you
for
go.
sure. I think that sometimes our people like our parents could get like embarrassed. I feel like I've experienced with my parents like feeling embarrassed by their emotions, or like
Yeah.
feeling embarrassed by the idea that like I also think that like they're like hard-headed and they don't want to like have to admit that like they want to change, because that would mean that like there's something
Right.
worth changing, or like possibly that needs changing, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yes.
Which is like just another reason to go to therapy is to like be
Yeah.
able to admit that you have flaws, when like it's like, come on, you guys, like you have flaws. You're allowed to
Right.
have flaws. Like we have
And they
flaws,
know it.
because you constantly tell us that we are like, you were telling us that millennials are destroying the world anyway. And it's
Right.
like, are we? But also like, I'm not going to sit here and have that conversation.
Yes. Also, I've learned that luckily my parents have never done this to me, but I know a lot of people who go to therapy and their parents know they go to therapy and their parents ask them like, "Why do you think you need to go to therapy?" Or
Yeah.
like, "Why like what did I do wrong?" basically. Like, "Why do you think your life is so hard that you need to go to therapy?"
Yeah.
I have multiple friends that their parents have said shit like that to them and I'm like, I mean, it is tough to see your kid go to therapy because, I've had this conversation with my mom and she's like, I know a lot of your struggles right now are things that you, like me and your dad, did to you by accident, or on like we didn't realize it was going to have damage.
Yeah.
Or like things that like we're clearly fucked up about that you just like got assimilated into.
Yeah.
So that's got to be really hard. But also, I think like asking your kid, why do you need to go to therapy? I was a good mom is like so fucked.
It is really fucked. Luckily, I never had to have that conversation, but also my mom is always like, you should go find someone to talk to about this kind of like, you should go find someone to talk to. It's what she always says. But then anytime she like wants to talk about someone else going to therapy, it's always like, they're going to therapy or like they're having problems. And I'm like, okay, you don't have to
Yes.
whisper about it. Like I'm here on a like not that she knows this, but I'm here on a podcast talking to the 5
Yeah.
listeners that we have that about my emotional problems, you know?
Right. That's just like a mom, especially like a white suburban mom thing to do, to be like, I heard that he smokes weed.
I found my therapist at from Psychology Today, which is
Hell
a
yeah.
very great website, psychologytoday.com. You can search in your area for therapists based on your insurance company is always a good place to start. Or if you don't have insurance, you can look like you can specify that. You can go by like any kind of identifier that you have. So like race, religion, sexual identity, gender identity, and all that kind of stuff. And that's how I like to find mine. Cause I specifically like to like search out like anybody who is either queer or like outwardly identifies as a queer ally, because
Yeah.
I know that some people have had hard times with their therapists who are typically older white men who like want to dissect someone's sexuality and like try to
Yes.
find the root of it. Like, you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, I had a friend who was like going to therapy and she was like, yeah, I identify as queer and I typically will date like, butch women, like identifying people. And all he wanted to talk about was like, maybe you actually want to date men
What
because
the
like you're
fuck?
clearly identified to like masculine like women and all this kind
And
of
she
stuff.
was like, I'm not even here to talk about that. I'm here to talk
Right.
about anxiety.
Exactly. And like obviously queerness is going to be a part of my life, but I'm not here to talk about it being like I'm not here to like find out why I'm queer. Like we could talk about
Right.
like me navigating queerness if you have
Yes.
like the language to talk about it, which like obviously I was seeking somebody who had the language to talk
Yes.
about it, but like I'm not here to talk about like what my sexual like preferences are as related to like the things that happened in my life,
Right.
you know?
Because they don't correlate.
Yes, exactly. But that's my number one go-to if anyone's like, I'm looking for a therapist, I don't know what to do. It's really hard to find somebody. You go on Psychology Today, you can click like the email button and it just writes like you can write an email right there and
Yep.
it sends it and you'll get a response. I like whenever I'm looking for a therapist, I like email like 3 to 5 at a time and like see who like comes back at me.
Yep. Also, resources I know are very helpful. If you are in school or work at a school, you are available to go to their therapy zone. It's called like the psyche. I don't know what it's called.
Mhm.
They have therapists there, and also they can always refer you because sometimes you need a referral.
Yeah.
And or if it's like a more specialized problem that you're talking about, they can refer you to someone that's not just there for like a general population, they're there for your specific needs. And then also I know from getting eating disorder help and recovery, there's a lot of organizations that have a lot of resources for people that are dealing with certain problems, and so that you can like get like readings and group therapy and whatever, and then they'll also do a meeting with you where they just like triage you there, and then they'll refer you to like 6 therapists in the area that they're connected with that help with that thing.
Mhm.
So like that, you already have like another like filter, so these
Yeah.
people are closer to what you're looking for.
Yeah. That's great. And then another resource that I know, my friend Hannah, who is a recently graduated, therapist, go her. I'm very proud of her.
Go her.
She recently shared a link to openpathcollective.org, and
Okay.
that is an organization that's specifically for finding therapists for people who don't have insurance. Um,
Oh, great.
yeah, and the sessions last or cost between $30 and $60 typically. I think that's for individuals, and I think you can do like family therapy from like between like $30 to $80.
That's
And
awesome.
like that like price range is basically how much I would pay for a copay for each for each appointment anyway. So
Yes.
like it really does
Yes.
kind of even out with if you have therapy or insurance or not.
That's
So
awesome.
I wanted to make sure that even people who don't have insurance have an opportunity to go see it, because there are a lot of like opportunities for like people who don't have insurance to still like
Yeah.
seek out therapy.
And there's a lot of places that do sliding scale payment. So they'll see
Mm-hmm.
your salary and then make you pay based on that.
Yeah, if you need any help finding a therapist, I really like to help people find therapists. I'll even go as far as to like put in all of your credentials, not like your name and height and stuff like that, but like what you're looking for, and I will like get a list of like 10 therapists that you can contact
Oh
in
my
your area.
God. Okay,
Like one of my
DM
hobbies.
us. It's a hobby. It's a hobby within a hobby.
Yeah.
DM us if you want Jordan to find you a therapist. No joke replies. This is serious.
Yeah. Or I'll send you a joke therapist and it'll be me.
Send Jordan a DM if you want him to find a therapist for your parents.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, please. Actually, yes, that's my new hobby. I'm doing that. I charge $15 per
Oh, that's
parent.
cheap.
It is
That's
cheap.
cheap. And he won't call it therapy if you need, he can call it just talking and brain stuff.
Yeah, I'll match your dad with a brain doc.
Yeah. A talking brain doc.
A talking brain doc. A talking brain doc sounds like it's like one of those like 20 question like games. You know what I mean? It's trying to
Yes,
read
it
what your
does.
mind is saying.
Talking brain doc, and it kind of looks like Mr. Potato Head for some
Yeah,
reason.
exactly.
Okay, well, do you have a rating for this? Make me
The rating system for this one is going to be 10 stained glass windows
amazing.
out of 10 stained glass windows. I think I'm going to give myself I'm going to give myself a 5, because I think I got 100% in delivering something that I felt good about, but I think I
Yes.
got a 0% in delivering what you asked me to do.
Yes.
So my average score is a 50%. So I'm going to give
Okay,
myself
that's
5
great.
stained glass windows.
That's pretty good. 5 stained glass windows. Everyone
Yeah.
needs at least 5. So
Yeah. And if that was rambling, I don't care. I feel good about it. These are all things I wanted everyone to hear.
I don't think it was rambling, and it was very helpful advice. And we got to learn about Dee Dee and John.
Yeah. More to come.
More to come.
Do you want to take a break?
Yes, please. Hey, Make Meers. I wanted to take some time to tell you about an amazing artist, Ray Adjemi. They're a non-binary artist based in Brooklyn, New York. They make comics, prints, and various crafts to help you feel your full feelings. Find them on Instagram at @radjemi or at their website, racheladjemi.com. Honestly, I'm looking at their stuff right now, and I have to tell you, it's fucking awesome. I love their comics, which you can find on their website, and shout out to episode 13. They're way better than I could ever be. And they recently put on their Instagram a set of linen napkins with fish embroidered on them that I am obsessed with. I need a set for my future fancy apartment. You can follow them and get your own. Find links to their pages in the show notes. Bye.
Welcome back from the break, listeners. It's us, your new besties. How are you doing?
I am good. I'm your new bestie.
I am your brain bestie.
I went to the brain doc. I'm excited to do my Make Me, so I'm jumping right in.
Let's do it. Let's do your Make Me.
Okay, so this week you had me pull a prank.
Yes.
Are you a prankster? Do you like pranks? Do you watch Impossible Jokers? What the fuck is that show called? Impractical Jokers.
Impractical Jokesters. We should make like a parody show called The Impossible Jokesters, where we pull like optical illusion type like pranks on people.
It's like David Blaine.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not much of a prankster, and I think that like every time I've tried to pull a prank, I think I like have a really like obvious tell that like I'm like excited or like giddy about something. Like I could never like surprise somebody with a surprise party or something, because like I start saying weird things, or like I'm always like, why don't you do this thing? And I was like, why? What's happening? I was like, no reason. And they're like, well, I'm not gonna do that now. I'm like, no, you have to do it. And like and and then like they can tell what's going on. But lately, I've been pranking Nathan, just like
Oh my God.
minor pranks, because in my head I was thinking about your prank. But I've been doing the whole like there's something on your shirt thing, and I like do like the whole
Oh,
like the nose thing. But
that's a
I've been being
great
really
prank.
creative, and I've been like, was that shirt clean when you put it on? And then he'll like look down, and then I'll like put my like I'll like flick his nose.
I'm sure he's pissed.
No, he hates it. And then he tried to do it to me recently, and it didn't work. And then it's worn off because I've done it too many times. But the
Yeah,
trick is to like be creative when you do it. You can't be like, hey, what's that? You have to like make it like a
right.
conversation. Be like, oh wait, like I can't believe you got something on your shirt already. Or like, is that barbecue sauce, or is that just like
Part of the shirt?
something else? Or then you just like do this. Yeah.
Wow, I love that.
Thanks.
But do you like being pranked? Like, how do you feel about pranks in general? It seems like you like the minor ones.
I like minor ones. I hate being pranked. I don't like it. And
Yes.
also one thing I really hate are like prank videos, like prank couple videos. Even though I said I loved them last week, I hate them.
You
I think they're
fucking
so
liar.
obnoxious because like I just feel like I think those are specifically like super, super like faked and like scripted, but also like the prank isn't funny. Like give me something funny I can do to somebody. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes. I have a very similar take on that. I am a staunch anti-pranker. I do not like pranks. I feel like they're very mean. And also I feel like my first instinct, like my first experiences with pranks were in like elementary school when people were doing them like with malicious intent.
Yeah.
Like they would be like, she's a nerd, so I'm going to put this kick me sign on her back or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's always because they were like, this is the weird person. This is like, it's funny to make fun of this person. Not like the prank is that we're like laughing together, which I don't feel like it ever is.
Right. It never
Um,
is.
right. And I especially hate the show Impractical Jokers. I think it's stupid. I think they're all mean. I think they're all like, they all act like the way I think like radio DJs, like morning DJs act, which is like
Yeah.
saying things about dicks at all periods of time because they think it's funny and like just being mean as a joke. Like they'll be really mean and then they'll be like, it was a joke. Like, chill out. Stop being so sensitive.
Or like it's like, okay, you have to go to the mall and you have to wear a dress.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like none of
And
this
then
is funny to me.
or they have to like go and talk to like some like poor innocent person, and like they're like everyone's like laughing hysterically, and the person's just like, I didn't sign up to
Right.
do that. Like I'm just trying to like be a person. Like, you fucking idiot for not understanding. Wait.
Right, like how could they have understood it? They have no idea what's going on. And your whole point was to make fun of them. It wasn't like I'm okay with some pranks where you're just like being an idiot and you like the prank is like seeing other people's reactions. Like Eric Andre does a bunch of shit where he's like in public just acting a fool and the video is seeing people be like, what the fuck is this? And like no
Yeah.
one's harmed but himself.
The worst prank that's ever been pulled on me, and I'm still pissed about it, and I get heated every time I think about it. One time, so there's like I forget what the chain of restaurants is called, but there's a chain of restaurants in Cleveland, and we were passing one of them. I was like, oh, I want to go to like that whatever chain of like whatever it was.
Yeah.
And Nathan goes, oh, I hear that's the best one, like that there is. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, cool. So when we were hanging out with friends or whatever, I was like, oh, I want to go to the whatever in Lakewood. Nathan tells me that's the best one. And Nathan starts fucking howling, like cackling. That like he thinks it's so funny. And I was like, what's so funny? It's like, I made that up. And he's like, that's so funny
Like
that I did that to you.
why?
And I was like, no, that's fucking stupid because I just look stupid because
Right.
you lied to me. Like that wasn't
Right.
like an interesting enough lie that was funny. And
Right.
he
And
still
there was
thinks it's
such a period of time that it's not a prank. It's just a
right.
lie.
Yeah, you just lied to me in the moment. Like you didn't set this up so that like there was a punchline immediately after. You just
Right.
freaking lied to me.
Right. So I think pranks are fucking dumb.
Yeah, they're dumb.
Clearly.
End of
Also,
podcast.
what's your make me for next week? Also I feel like you and I are like sensitive little flowers, so we also we're like assholes, so I feel like we like pranking other people, maybe like a little bit, but if we get pranked, we can't take the heat.
Oh,
So
for
like
sure.
I just like don't fuck around with that because I don't like getting pranked. So I would never like, I don't want retaliation.
Yeah. Oh, another thing I hate is being scared. Like when people try to jump scare me. I'm
Yes.
like, that's not funny. You didn't. That's
Yes.
not funny.
Okay, so have you ever pulled like an especially good prank or one that you feel like really bad about?
No, like I said, like I'm not very good at doing pranks, and I feel like personally I would never like maliciously prank somebody I don't like because that's
Yeah.
so much energy to put in somebody I don't like. You know what I mean? To like do
Yes.
that to them,
Yes.
and then anything I would want to do to like a friend, I would fuck it up and like mess it up. You know what I mean?
Right. Um, so I've pulled a few pranks. I've had pranks pulled on me. Really, I pulled one prank and then it went really horribly. So I think this is why I was converted to the non-prank household. But obviously, we
Uh
talked about
huh.
it before that my mom pranked me by sending a picture of her butthole, quote unquote butthole, to me.
Right.
OG prank. Also, my
That-
family, my
That's
mom
one of
has a,
Margot's hobbies.
yeah, yeah, sending butthole pics. um, Another thing that I think is a prank that actually I'm okay with is gag gifts, and my family does a lot of
Oh
gag gifts.
yeah,
So like we have like a
I
little
like that.
packet of like nuts and bolts, like screws and stuff that someone gets in their stocking every year. We have like uh there's this thing called subtle butt, which is like a patch you put in your underwear that makes your farts not smell. And so my mom bought a pack of that and
What?
we like pass it around the family.
I
um
love that.
but then the one prank that I remember pulling was when I was a kid. I was probably like 12 or something like that. And you know, when you have a sibling, you're always just like fucking with them at all periods of time. And
Yeah.
so I went, I don't know how I got this idea, but I was like in the pantry and I saw that we had a pie tin, like a aluminum pie tin. And I went in the refrigerator and we had like Ready Whip in a can. So I like put the Ready Whip into the pie tin like a full pie, and then I sprinted at my brother full speed, who was just like on the computer minding his own
Oh my
business, and
gosh.
I pied him in the face. But as soon as it happened, he was like, "What the fuck?" And the whipped cream I used was old, so it was like sour whipped cream that was now all over him.
Oh my God.
And even now he's like, honestly, I thought it was pretty funny, except for the fact that it was sour whipped cream that was like in my mouth and my eyes and like all over me.
Oh my gosh. Did you have to like take a shower immediately?
Yeah, he was like pissed at me and he like chased me around the house for a second, but then he was like so disgusted that he had to go take a shower.
Oh my gosh. That's
So
so
like
funny.
that
I
didn't
love
go
that.
well.
It sounds like it went great. If anything,
Yeah.
you are the queen of pranking.
I like didn't even know I upped the ante by using old whipped cream.
Yeah, you went in.
Um I guess, yeah. But I don't think I've really pulled pranks ever since then because, like I said, I don't like them. And in my research for this episode, I looked up a bunch of those stupid, like, pranks that couples pull on each other.
Yeah.
And I found two that were, like, especially horrifying. One is a woman, and she says, like, my husband's always yelling at me for licking the knife when I'm cooking or, like,
Oh, wait.
eating.
I feel like I saw this recently. Go
Maybe.
ahead.
And so she like got a prosthetic tongue. Where do you get that? And she
Right.
stabbed a knife through it and then she like held it up to her mouth like as if that was her tongue. And she was like screaming and her husband comes over and he has like the look of terror in his eyes like his wife was going to die. And he was like trying to calm her down. He was like freaking out but also being like, please, like calm down, like we need to, like what do we do? And then she like pulled the whole thing away and he just like screamed at the top of his lungs and the video ended. And I was like, that man's horrified. You
That's
ruined
so
his
funny.
day.
Yeah, that's bad. Just like to feel that, like, imagine that adrenaline rush, you know?
Yes. And then you're just like, what the fuck? Like, why are you doing this to me? Now I'm all like stressed.
Yeah.
And then the most horrible one I found was they're in a car. So there's like someone in the front seat and the passenger seat, and then in the middle back or the back seat, wherever. And the two people in front are talking to the camera, and they're like, one of them said, well, there's like voiceover to it. So you just see them like both do the sign, and it says like abusive partner prank. And then
Yikes.
the husband like punches his fist or punches his hand and is like, I told you not to fucking do that. And then the woman starts to cry. So then the person in the back obviously like jumps forward and starts hitting the guy.
Yeah.
And then they all at once were like, it's a prank, it's a prank. And then everyone
Why
was
would you
like,
do
stop.
that?
Why
That's
would
so
you do
dumb.
that?
I hate
It's
that.
like, it's not funny at all. Well, who is that funny for?
Yeah. There's one prank I've seen on the internet a few times, which I actually think is kind of funny. Have you seen the prank where the person, I sometimes think this one's scripted because it goes too well every single time I've seen it. But if it is true, it's funny. Where like they put like a bucket on someone's head in the grocery store, but then they put a bucket on their own head and they lift it up and they look to see who around did it.
Yes, I like that one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But see, that one's not like, no one's hurt in this.
Yeah, exactly. Or like you don't have like a weird, crazy adrenaline rush thing. It's like, it's more like confusion.
Right. Yeah. I'm okay, I guess, with the confusion ones are okay.
Yeah.
So knowing all of this, similar to what you were saying, like I put this off so long because I don't like pranks and I'm like not creative of thinking about pranks because I think they're mean. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I really don't want to do this. Like maybe I just don't do it and talk about that. But I did it anyway. And this is especially bad because Gary likes to fake like we're in quote unquote prank house. So he'll like do something by accident and be like prank house. Or like
I love that.
We'll be like play fighting and then he'll accidentally like hit me like in the face or something and he'll be like, it was a prank house. And so he loves the prank house. And he's pranked me probably like twice, but nothing to write home about. He's gonna hate hearing that. But
yeah.
So I was especially
you act like you like got so pranked.
Yeah. I was especially nervous about doing this because Gary's my only victim and he likes to prank. So anyway, I know that one of Gary's biggest fears is a spider coming out of the toilet at his butt. So
exposed.
So I put saran wrap on the toilet, like under the cover, and then I drew little spiders and put them like on the saran wrap. I thought this was gonna work way better than it did, but like I'm gonna send you a picture of it. It's so obvious. So then I closed the lid, and so when you open it, it's like there's bugs in the toilet, but I didn't cut out the bugs very good, so there's like a white background around all the bugs. So it's not like my best handiwork. That was prank number 1. I made a boomerang of it, so you can see that there's like. So you can see that.
Oh no, you're cutting out again.
Oh.
Okay, now you're fine again.
Okay. So I sent you a boomerang.
You don't have to start over because you got a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, you sent me a boomerang.
I sent you a boomerang of it so you could see how it looks when you like open the lid. And it's so not bugs. It's like obviously paper and saran wrap.
Yeah, that's so funny.
And then my second prank, which I looked up like a bunch of like harmless pranks you can play on your kids, like for April Fool's Day. And one of them was putting clear nail polish on a bar of soap. So I painted this bar of soap with clear nail polish, and it feels really tacky when you touch it. And then when you put water on it, it's just like you're rubbing like a piece of plastic on your hands, basically.
Yeah.
So, and I was worried that he wasn't going to notice that one. Or I was like, what if he like goes to the bathroom and doesn't wash his hands?
This is a learning lesson.
Yes. So I was at home all day by myself with a toilet covered in saran wrap with bugs on it and a nail polish covered soap bar. And I was waiting for him to get home and I really had to pee. And we only have one bathroom. well, we have another one, but it's scary and out of the way. So I
Uh-huh.
sat in the bathtub and peed in the bathtub.
I love that.
And then I had to go to the kitchen to wash my hands. But so Gary comes home. We're like hanging out for a long time. It was like an hour before he went to the bathroom. And I was like so nervous and giddy that I thought he was gonna like notice that I was being weird.
Uh-huh.
And then so he finally goes to the bathroom. I hear him like open up the toilet and he just goes, "No!" And he comes out and he's like, this is my worst fear. Like, why would you do this? But he wasn't like actually scared, obviously. um
Yeah.
but he was like, "That's a good prank, like you got me, huh?" Like it was funny, but he wasn't like scared. So I was happy
Yeah.
about that. But also I didn't pull off the best prank. And then he like went back in the bathroom, washed his hands, whatever. And then it wasn't until he had been in the bathroom like 2 more times that night that he finally came out of the bathroom and was like, is this soap like part of Prank House?" I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "It's not good." I was like, "Yeah, I put nail polish on it." And he was like, "What the hell?" And like we were kidding around. But he was like, "Honestly, I thought that we were gonna have a fight because what if it wasn't part of Prank House? It was just like you liked this shitty soap that I didn't like." And I would be like, "What's up with this soap?" And he'd be like, "Why don't you just buy your own fucking soap if you don't like it?"
I
So
love that.
that prank worked very well. That he used it multiple times and was like, "Fuck this," and didn't say anything about
Yeah.
it. And then finally was like, "What's up with this?"
I love that. That's
So those
so
are my 2
funny.
pranks.
I have questions.
Yes.
Did you tell him what your make me was?
No, he asked me what my make me was this week and I said I couldn't tell him and he was like, "Is it Prank House?" And I was like, "No, it's just like something involved that I can't tell you about."
Right. And then he knew.
But he knew. But then
uh,
after he asked me that, it was like 5 days until I pranked him, so I think he forgot.
yeah, no, that's good. Did he notice that you cut the soap in half?
Well, it was like brand new out of like the paper. So I was the
Oh.
first person to put it on the soap dish. So
Uh-huh.
he was probably just like, "Julia's being weird," and cut it in half or like
Or
did
like, oh, it
this.
just comes in halves now.
Yeah, you're right.
Um, Second question, is there anything you can do to that soap now to use it? Like, are you gonna have to cut off the nail polish?
I had to cut off the nail polish. It was on our soap dish for like 2 more days, and then I was like, "Okay, we can't live like this."
Yeah. Did the soaps, I guess the soap already probably has a scent. So did it seem like, could you tell?
You couldn't tell unless, I mean, looking at it, you can't tell at all that it has nail polish
Oh,
on it.
that's weird.
And then when you touch it, it just kind of feels like a dry soap square.
Yeah.
But then when you try to lather with it, there's like it barely even like slips over your hand.
Right. It's like it just stays there.
Yeah. It's
That's
a good
funny.
prank.
That is a good prank. Um those 2 pranks actually remind me of 2 other pranks. One
Yeah.
is I one time when in middle school I watched a prank video where like you put like gelatin in the toilet bowl so that when like
Ooh.
someone goes to pee it just bounces back up. But
Wait, that seems like a lot of damage.
it's a lot of damage because then you'd have to like someone pees in the sink, then you'd have to like scoop out the gelatin. Like you can't like flush the gelatin. Like
Right.
in this prank, your all the toilet bowl water becomes like like plain jello, like clear jello.
Oh.
So not only would you have to try to scoop it out, then you'd have to deal with the mess of like the pee going everywhere when someone goes to pee in it.
So you have to touch pee jello and then clean pee
And then
everywhere.
clean pee. And then the other prank, the soap one reminded me of one time I watched a prank where like these kids were at like a pool shower or whatever, and someone was like
Yeah.
washing their hair. And the kid was like would try to rinse out the hair, so the guy kept like putting shampoo in his hair and he kept trying to like get it out and he was like freaking out, and it was
I've seen that one
really
before.
funny.
I like that one. That one's really funny.
Yeah.
I saw that at like an outdoor shower at like a beach. And so there was someone like hanging over the edge that just kept squirting shampoo on their
Yeah,
head.
it's so funny.
Good. So I guess pranks can be funny. I changed my mind, but I am worried that Gary's going to retaliate in some
Prank
way.
house.
But that's why also I didn't want to do like a crazy one, because if I did some really elaborate, like mean one, then he would do something back to me like that. And I don't want that.
Yeah. Damn.
I can deal with like a fake soap bar or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that was good. I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
I might have bailed if I got pranks.
Yeah. I was close to bailing.
Again, what was it? I feel like I gave you another make me recently that I was like, the Bloody Mary thing. I was like, if you would have given it to me, I wouldn't have done it.
But that's like the whole point.
Yeah, that's true.
So out of 10 stained glass windows, I'm going to give myself like a 6, because I think I could have done something more elaborate and like actually had scared. Like if I bought like a toy spider and like hid it in the cupboard so it fell out or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say 6 stained glass windows on this one.
Nice.
Mostly because I didn't conquer my fear of pranks.
Yeah, that's true. You kind of just like,
I did some pretty easy ones.
you did diet prank.
Yeah, diet prank light.
Well, sometimes you need to do prank light so that if you want to do prank regular, like you have the basics down.
Right. This is just my warm up.
Yeah. Well, I like them. I'm gonna try
you.
that soap one. That soap one's a good one.
You should do it to Nathan if he uses like a bar of soap in the bathroom, like in the shower.
Yeah,
especially.
I should. Do you want to get into next week's make me's?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Next week, this one is something that has been on my list since the very beginning, because it's something that I do not understand whatsoever, and it has a lot of critical acclaim and cult acclaim, and I don't get it. And I want you to watch Train Spotting and report back.
Oh my gosh.
What the fuck it is.
Okay, I cannot believe that you just gave it to me, because I've seen that movie so many times and I'm always like, should I watch it? I'm not gonna watch it. But it's also like always in the zeitgeist. You know what I mean?
Yes. It's like always on TV. People are always talking about how it's like the best movie ever. And I've tried to watch it and I don't understand it. So now you have to do that for me.
Okay.
And spoilies all over the place, probably.
Yeah. So yeah, spoiler alert, next week there's going to be spoilies.
Yeah.
It's so funny that you gave me something to watch, because I also I'm giving you something to watch this week. So we can call this Make Me
Movie? Is it a movie?
It's a movie.
Make
me watch it.
Make me watch it.
Next week's episode of Make Me Watch It, you're going to be watching this new scary movie called Host.
Ooh, I've never heard of it.
I'll give you my login to the website I watched it.
Awesome.
I watched it, but I want to talk to you about it. It's a scary movie that takes place on Zoom. And
what?
It's a scary movie that that was filmed during quarantine. That was filmed completely on Zoom, and it's set up like a Zoom call.
I'm scared.
And as an extra challenge, this is an optional part. Watch it on your computer, so that it feels like you're in a Zoom call.
Okay, I will. I hate this, but I'll do it. I like scary movies. I was telling someone this recently. I like scary movies, but if someone ever says to watch a scary movie, I won't do it. But then while I'm watching it, I really like it.
Have fun. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, do you have a make me for the listeners?
I do have a make me for the listeners. I actually have 2 make me's for the listeners.
Ooh.
I want you to the first one I want you to do is I want you to email 5 therapists, if you don't already have a therapist, just for like a consultation call. See if they do a free 15-minute consultation, see if you like it.
Yes.
Super easy. The second one is I want you to turn your toilet bowl water into gelatin, and I want you to film somebody peeing in it and getting splashed with their own pee.
I'm imagining like a huge splash, like when you dump like a rock into the bottle.
And it just like
but it's pee.
All right, do you have anything else to say, Julia?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right, until next time.
I love you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey guys, it's Jordan and Julia. Thanks for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed it.
For content related to this episode, follow us at MakeMePod on Instagram. And you can hear episodes each week on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you find us anywhere else, please let us know.
You can also send us your questions, comments, make me suggestions, pictures of your dog, or requests for unlicensed medical advice to makemepod@gmail.com.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, rate, etc., etc. That's how we get discovered.
Please, we need to be clicked.
But for real, leave a comment so we know you love us.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.